So anyway, good morning. Good evening, family. I'm Brother Usiku Ill, and I want to welcome you to the Ringing Stone Network. And what we're trying to do. At the first of the year, just a short story. At the first of the year, I did maybe 5 shows for my intimate friends. And so I happen to have a couple intimate friends call me last week, and they want to do a show with Lester. And so I decided to give Brother Lester a call and see if we could do a show. And historically, I can say historically now because Les and I have been doing shows for maybe 4 years. So historically, Les and I do a show around the 1st of December normally anyway. And one of our shows we did maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we did a show on pole shifting. We dealt with the possibility of the pole shifting. And then tonight, I'm honored to have Brother 5000 with me. Briefly, um, I broken bread with Brother 5000 in my home a couple of times. I found him to be a very steady person and a steady friend. He's not particularly two-faced at all, and he has a very in-depth knowledge of star people. So what I want to do, I want to introduce you to Brother 5000, let him say a few words, and then we'll get into the bill with Brother Lester Loving. Brother
All right, great.
5000, you there?
Yeah, greetings, everybody. It's nice to be here. Nice to be welcomed. I appreciate that love. So as always.
And as I was saying, the Brother 5000, basically whenever we start dealing with star people, I generally try to put whoever I'm talking to on hold and then try to get this brother on the line so he can share some of his knowledge. He's studied with some of the Wabians for a while. He's spent some time in Honduras. He's under Sabi. He's studied under Dr. Bombay. So he's striving to make things better for us. And I know tonight he'll impart a lot of good knowledge for us. And now to Master Lovings. Are you there, Brother Lester Lovings?
I think I am.
Yeah, you there. We got you. We got you. How are you? How have you been?
I'm good. I'm very good, and times are good as well.
Wonderful. Well, tonight's a little less you and I've added Brother 5000.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to make it like a family night. So as people come on or if they get here, if they want to ask you some questions, they can. So that opposed to when I get off the phone, then I'm on the phone another couple hours sharing information about the show. Let them be, this is like for my intimate friends so that they could call and ask you questions they stuff, and it doesn't break. Hopefully it
Absolutely.
won't break our chain. Or you know what I'm saying? Like that. So I may just have
Yes.
one thing.
Yes.
But first, what I wanted to do was to start it. I want to ask you, what's on your table? Like, what are you dealing with on your table in relationship to what's going on politically or what's going on scientifically or what's going on the moon? Like, what's on your table? Like,
The fact of the matter is that I would say 70% of what's on my table is me doing all the exercises and disciplines for me to be able to tune in and do deep listening. In other words, I don't have any thoughts of any kind for the physical world until I've checked in with the non-physical world and make sure that connection is strong. Then I know how to respond or interact with whatever is out there versus reacting to it.
so, like, is all your conversations personal? Like, could you share like one where they say, do they tell you, don't go this way, do this way, don't cross the street, or Do they warn you that, Usiku gonna call you and ask a bunch of dumb questions about 4 o'clock? You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna give you my interpretation of what you just asked me. Okay. I was listening to some program, and they were talking about they had formed an improvisational group. People that do sketch comedy.
Right.
And the host was asking them about the rules of improvisation. And the person said, and I've heard several people who are into improvisation say, the first rule of improvisation is that there is no. There's only yes. So no matter how absurd or whatever the person says, you can't respond with a negative. You have to build upon what they've said. And listening to this person say this, I realized I had this aha moment, because I realized in my studies, they talk about the fact that in the human baby brain, for the first 18 months of the baby brain, even later than 18 months, up to 3 years, there is no. The baby only knows creativity. So
you know what?
if you're, hold on, let me finish. So if you're at the corner and you say to your young child, don't cross the street, they have no capacity to hear the don't. All they hear is cross the street. So my aha moment was realizing that I had to align all my channels so that I'm in the yes mode. So, no matter what I'm given, I can build upon it. There's something that the universe has that no condition could not be satisfied.
Mike, 5,000.
Yeah.
What was your comment?
Well, Lester, I wanted just to ask you to add on that because you brought up, what came to my mind's eye were kids before you even mentioned about the kids. And I've always said, how do you know who you really are is when you go around kids? Because kids, not just because they say the darndest things, they don't know any way but to be truthful.
That's right. Yes.
So I
absolutely. So
no, go ahead. Go ahead. It's fine. You can. You go.
No, you go, bro.
No, but the reason being, even when people who are religious and they go back and it says to the scriptures like being like a big kid again, when Ezekiel talks about when you talk about being in the commerce, everything's about mirror images. What's not, what's your name? What is not my name? Then that's like being like a big kid going back to keeping it simple, or where all the stuff that we've made complicated has always been simple. And it's been layers and layers and layers. How you can say you can make anything that's simple complicated because we make it complicated.
Well, once again, brother, I just met you, and I want to tell you. I want to tell you in one of these tuning in sessions that I had to address that very point. The intelligence of the universe said, what it said to me is all complex systems are built from simple parts. And there's a difference between complex and complicated. I can talk to a kid and I can break down E equals MC squared, even though that is a very complex concept, but it's built upon simple parts. A lot of times when I'm looking at these people on TV and they're explaining something, they're sounding complicated because they really don't, they don't know all the parts that they're working with. In other words, no kid is going to make something complicated. They can say something that's very complex.
I agree.
All right, brother.
Bro, okay, I was just letting get it out. I can get to our topic, and then we can go through Q&A. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I just want to be a compliment tonight to what's being said. As Ezekiel said, you were here for us, and I just want to be able to, when you make a point to just when you make things jump off the page for me, and that light goes off, to be able to reflect on what you're saying and not hold it in for the whole hour, 2 hours, and by that time not be able to comment on as you're going on, because every time you speak, I feel everything and what you say, and it's just a reflection on being able to talk to. So it's a pleasure as well to be able to hear you every time, because you're talking my you're talking my talk, or it's like you're what you're speaking is on my tuning level. So I was like, okay, I got you. So I appreciate that.
Yes. Absolutely. And you see, to the brother's point, we don't sit down and intellectually say that, we're going to meet every time, we're going to have some kind of show at this juncture in the year. We don't sit down and plan it out. But one thing that we know just from common sense, that as the days get shorter, and which means the nights are getting longer and the temperatures are getting cooler and colder, this is a time for going within, both physically and metaphorically. The bear eats a whole bunch of food and then goes into the den and, slows down their metabolism, but they're able to survive all winter. So all I'm saying is this is the time of going within. And, as I've said on this show many different times, ironically, we are closest to the Earth on January the 2nd. Now, most people think that we're closer to the sun. We're closer to the sun on January the 2nd. And most people think that we're closest to the sun, during the summertime because it's warm. That really has to do with the tilt of the sun, the angle, and the way that the light is coming into the atmosphere. And what I'm saying is that the sun is not in the center, and that the Earth moves around it equidistant. It is not like that. It is an ellipse, and therefore we're closest to the sun, and we're actually moving faster in December and January, and the Earth is moving slower in July and August. The whole point of my ranting and raving here is that because we are closest to Sol, that's the name of our star, SOL, Sol, because we are closest to Sol in January, that's when we get our instructions for what we're supposed to be carrying out during the next year.
Right.
So part of the significant, let me just finish this. part of the significance of us working in December is getting ready for those, as we're fond of saying in our community, downloads.
My comment about just piggybacking on when he talked about the SOL and the sun, and then you said as above, so below, or where Ezekiel comments on saying that's duality. For me, it's just for people to understand who you are, because we are SOL, so we're suns. That's why we have a solar plex.
Right. That's right.
And then you have yes, you say, well, could that be? Well, you have a circulatory system because it revolves around your inner essential sun. If you didn't have that sun, you would not be alive right now. Because you breathe off when you drink alcohol or beer and you flare it up. So you have to see it in your eyes, the understanding that who and what you truly are. And so as we come closer to the sun, where the other point I wanted to make, as you said, during this time, we come more in tune with our higher or spiritual prowess.
That's right.
I welcome this day and time in, because that's part of the awakening, where now all this stuff starts to melt away, all this misinformation and spells, and wherever you want to go with it, because you now come in tune with your higher self, whether you want to or not.
Right.
That's all.
I yield. Yes, that's right. That's right.
Okay. Let's go to when we look at the environment. You know what I mean? And all the things that's going on prior to the pandemic, and now we've had the election, and there's the rumors on the street the aliens are coming December 21st. There's other things that's supposed to happen the 21st. I talked to a brother that see 5G towers all around children's schools. When people come home now, they're sleeping less. You know what I mean? And some people think that the time is sped up and the universe is sped up, which technically ain't happened because it's still 365 days or 4 days. You know what I mean? So things haven't really sped up, but people get a sense of speeding up. So one of the things I want to do on the show is let's discuss some things that we can do in our home to insulate it. So when we come home, all of that energy can stay out, or as much of it as possible stays out.
All right. Oh, okay. Well, see, once again, okay, this is where I'm going to start with this. We spoke a couple of weeks ago, and we discussed, what the topic of the show was going to be, and I was completely amenable to it. But then something said to me, tune in to what the general public is paying attention to. That's all it said. Tune into what the public is paying attention to, or what the public is saying. And as I listened to the radio over that next couple.
I'm sorry, I'll get them muted. I'm sorry.
Winds out of the southeast now at 9 miles an hour. We started out the morning very chilly, but quickly.
All right, go ahead.
Back in from the Gulf and also a little bit more cloudy.
Go ahead, Brother Lovins. You okay now?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
I was saying that. No problems. I was saying that what the very first thing that I heard people repeatedly saying is
Here we go.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes.
You there?
Oh God. Okay. Yeah, I'm here. Okay. What I was saying is I heard bunches of people referring to the fact that their children were at home and they were trying to focus on their classes over the computer. And the term that many people said was that my children, zone out, or they lose focus. And I said, that's exactly where we're going to start. Because you see, the whole principle of this particular broadcast, the foundation of the principle is that we have to make our homes the Garden of Eden before the fall. I'm going to repeat that the principle that we're talking about is that we have to restore our environment, the place that we spend the most time. We have to heal that environment. Okay? And that's a tough pill to swallow because most people, they spent their money either renting their apartment or buying their house or fixing it up, and no one wants to hear that there's something wrong with our environment. And it's not so much that people made a mistake or did something wrong, but the technologies we use have side effects. We know that because we know the phone has a side effect. We know the Wi-Fi has a side effect. We even know that the medicines we take have side effects. So let's address what these side effects are so that we can make our environments as receptive for us to be able to hear the transmissions that the universe is giving us. That's the premise of what I'm saying, that our home should be the number one transmitter. That should be the place of receiving and sending out transmissions to the universe and all the living beings in the universe. So, addressing this problem with the kids. First and foremost, most people, when they hear me and they hear that I'm a scientist, they want me to explain the metaphysical. That's not my job. My job is to explain what works and what doesn't work. And therefore, the computer that our children are sitting in front of for hours during the day, we all know that there's radiation, or I should say, electrical radiation coming out of that device that is going through our bodies and taking energy out. Now, the only difference is that either people are going to bitch and moan and repeat that for years, or they're going to get off their rusty dusty and actually do something about it. So what do we do? What do we do in order to dampen the radiation from the computer or the television set? What we do is we get a quartz crystal. We don't have to go and get a $20 one or a $50 one. Size does not matter. So you can get the $3 one out of the $3 bin, or a $2 crystal, quartz crystal out of the $2 bin at the quartz place, so you can order them online. You take your quartz crystal and you place it, you put it on the extension cord of the computer. And you can either tape it on, you can use copper wire to wrap around the crystal around that's what I recommend. You can glue it on. But scientifically, we know that the quartz crystals filter out this radiation. I'm not going to go into a whole explanation of how it does it, but it goes from being 20 to 30 feet out to now being 4 to 6 inches from that screen. So if our children are sitting farther than 6 inches from the screen, then they're not getting that radiation. There's also it's
So
also
when you say
so
extension cord, you mean just
okay,
the cord that you plug in, right? Not particular extension cord, but
the cord.
the cord that,
No,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Right. The cord that you plug in, the cord that comes
Okay.
from the
Cool.
computer that you, yes, the electrical
Right.
cord. I'm sorry, I said the extension cord, but I meant the electrical cord.
Okay. I just
So
wanted to clear for some,
I'm glad. No, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. All I'm saying is, what the universe, why the universe chose that as the example is because we're sitting around and brother, you and I have had multiple discussions about 5G. I want to kick everybody's butt about this 5G bullcrap. I'm sick and tired of hearing this when no one's willing, and you've heard me say this on this show, willing to do stuff about 1 through 4G. Why is fucking 5G so much more significant than the 1 through 4G that's killing us slowly? So all I'm saying is we have to go around and examine our lifestyle. That's why we're at home. That's why the universe gave us all a timeout. So we can really look at and examine what the fuck we're doing and how to improve upon what we're doing. If people were to complain about us living in food deserts and we don't have enough fresh food, yeah, there's only so much I can deal with in terms of hearing people complain about that. That's what I call bitching and moaning. Okay? There's got to be a short-term solution, and then there's got to be people mapping out where they can start growing their own food. There's a whole bunch of empty lots, and there's a whole bunch of empty buildings. We can grow stuff inside. But it's time for us to examine how our own individual environments need to be healed. So that was just the first example. I got like 20 more. But I'm stopping.
Give me a little bit on what effect. You got 20 more? Go ahead. I'll write my questions down. Go ahead.
No, brother. Ask that question. Ask that question. You're not going to chop my.
I knew you said you wasn't going to go scientific. I just wanted a little of the science on putting the quartz on my electrical. And I know everyone's going to ask what type of quartz.
Any clear quartz. Look, you want to get. You can get it. You don't need to buy a whole bunch of expensive crystals here. We're talking about clear quartz.
Okay.
That has a termination. Termination means has a point.
Yeah, has a
and
point.
The size does not matter. Now I'm only saying this because people have heard me for 30 years, and they go out and buy this $50 crystal that's an amethyst or a citrine or some other thing, and your $3 crystal is going to work just as effectively as that big ass crystal or that special crystal. There's not like this whole New Age thing about this is a Lemurian seed crystal. This is that. Okay, all that stuff is true in a metaphysical sense, but we're talking about physics here. And physics doesn't give a funk about, all these understandings. It's all going to work.
That's wonderful to know.
You asked me a question.
Because
No. But I want be quiet. I want to answer your question before. I want to answer your question before we go any further. Okay. People say, "What effect is going to be?" What effect is this going to have? It's the same goddamn effect I've said for the last 4 years. We know that positive ions, that's the radiation that's coming out of the television set. We know that it slows down the rate of digestion. Okay? That's one of the sources of obesity. Did you hear what I said?
I hear you.
Okay.
Definitely.
Number two. It speeds up it makes us gravitate toward anger. It slows down our ability to think rationally. It attracts smoke, dust, and particulates. So all of those toxins and things that are in the air, it will pull that toward the set. And if I happen to be between, if I'm watching the sets, I'm between, the window and the set, then some of those toxins I'm going to be breathing those in. And most important, the numero uno thing that people should be studying about positive ions is that positive ions do not allow the melanin and specifically the melanocytes to work properly. So don't give a rat's ass. And I've said this too many times. People talk to me, oh, I'm black. I'm super black. I got all this. If you don't run a whole bunch of positive ions, you got your fluorescent lights, you got your computer, your 50-foot screen, then your shit ain't working.
Wow.
So,
because a lot of people want to teach that, our melanin is adaptive. It adapts to everything.
Lester, can I ask a question?
No. Wait a minute. Hold on before you vote. Look, people say all kinds of stuff. Okay, that don't mean it's true. Our president has been saying stuff for 4 years. Melanin is most effective when we have an environment. This is where it goes to, brother. You said the word environment. When we have an environment that's 70% negative ions and 30% positive ions. And guess where we find that exact environment, aside from the ocean and the forest and all that? We find that exact environment in ancient Egypt. And what do we also find in ancient Egypt? We find that the people all had pineal glands that were twice as big as ours.
Wow.
So no, it's not completely adapted. I mean, it can adapt to everything. No.
Lester, have you started writing your book?
Yes.
Okay. Because all this just can't leave
I'm sorry, brother. Brother. I'm laughing because I started writing the book 40 years ago, and every time that I thought, okay, and it's like, no, bro, there's this element, there's this aspect, there's this. So, yeah. Oh no.
Because in a moment I'm going to have about 20 recorders at your house recording all of these jewels that need to be said when a person goes buys this and read the warning. Did you pick up this, and this when you purchased that?
Right.
And
right.
So people are aware of the things that need to have in place if you're going to take place and indulge in the extracurricular activities that they do not knowingly. So just those little things would be a huge impact in a lot of people's lives if they had any inkling of some of the stuff you're talking about, because they don't know, and they won't know unless we bring it to them. Unless we have your own TV channel, and and talk as frank as you do. All right. Anyway.
We'll see once again, my brother. We're just getting acquainted, but you see, you don't know me well. But I am tired of talking. People will come, as long as I talk, people will come. They'll have a notebook full of notes. No, that's not me. When I have, as you said, my channel. When I have my channel, I'm going to talk about 5 minutes like I did. And then we're going to have the TV screen. We're going to have the kid in front of the TV screen, and we're going to turn the thing on, and I'm going to drop a whole bunch of dust in front of the TV screen. And you're going to see that dust goes right onto the screen. Because we all know that anyway. We know we got to wipe the screen off because it attracts dust. That's what positive ions do. And then we're going to put the crystal on there, and then I'm going to drop the same dust, and then we're going to see whether it attracts as much dust to the set or not. That's how I roll.
I got it. You at this time, as it's not time to talk about it, it's time to be about it at this time. We need to have a plan of action that's being done versus like what do I need to do? No, you should already been doing it. Especially you said I've been talking for the last 4 years and I'm blue in my face. It's like okay, who amongst those that I've been talking to, what are y'all doing about it now? I got you. I feel you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back on point then. All right, so we can at least get 10 things here. Okay. How do we create a 70-30 environment in our home with negative ions?
Okay, very simple. First thing that we do, the first thing we do is we go around. Well, no, I'm gonna make this simple. First, we have 5 things in our environment, in our homes. I call them, when I say the word environment, I mean the home. Whether it's an apartment or a house, it doesn't matter. There are 5 things in the home that generate positive ions. Now, there's more than 5 things in the home that generate positive ions, but there are 5 things that generate a tremendous amount of ions. Number 1, numero uno with a bullet, television set. Now, it
does it make a difference which kind? The tube or the flat screen, the LED, it don't make a difference.
Okay. Well, see, once again, everything makes a difference. Okay. You're going to have as a scientist, when I hear the word different, to me that's about percentages.
That's great.
So in other words,
I said the wrong thing.
Right. So if something's a tube set and then the other one's a flat screen and there's only 10% difference, then that's not a major difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, I said it, I knew
no, but see, once again, you hit it right on the head because I have been looking for tube sets for quite some time now. And I've been specifically looking for a black and white TV set. It's very hard to find a black and white TV set these days. But the bigger your screen, the flatter the screen. You see, your TV, okay, let's break it down.
Do it.
Your TV is based on pyramid technology. Okay? When you have those old cameras back in the day that were big, bigger than a human, and they had to wheel them around with the wheels and stuff. You know the cameras I'm talking about, the big ones.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you don't. There were these giant cameras that they would aim at people when they were filming them. And if you took that lens off, because we all saw the lens, when they showed us the TV camera, they don't show us a big lens. Well, if you just saw it, because it folds. I mean, it folds. It folds. You can twist it. It'll come. It'll fold to the side. And if you were to fold that to the side and look in there, you'd see that there was a pyramid prism. All the light goes through a pyramid. And then when they broadcast it out, they're using an antenna that's a pyramid shape. And then they broadcast it to your set. And if you think about the old TV sets with the tubes, that giant, screen, the screen that we watched was a pyramid that was turned on its side. We're watching the base of the pyramid, but it's a pyramid shaped thing. It's all pyramids. So the TV is number one, not because it gives off the most positive ions, but because our society tells us that the average American watches 7 hours and 3 minutes of TV a day. This is before COVID. And they also tell us that the average African American watches 10 hours of TV a day. Now, that's not true. What they mean is the TV is on because Mama would have the TV on in the other room, and she's not even watching it, but it's on. But if that TV is facing us, because you see positive ions go through matter, negative ions don't. So therefore, if I've got a TV in another room and it's facing me, I'm still getting those ions. So we got the TV set, the computer, the fluorescent light, the refrigerator, and then here's the number one, numero uno, the 90-degree corner, the corners that are at the top of our rooms. They collect positive ions and they convert negative ions into positive ions. Just the opposite of what we want.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Just what we live in. See, this is environment. Isn't that the definition of environment?
Yes, it is. Okay.
Now it just so happens. See, my journey has been serpentine, just like a snake. It goes sideways. So, I'm like, the subject I want to study is right there. But it's like, no, you got it over here. And one of those over here moments was when I learned that the American Cancer Society was formed in the early part of the 20th century. And their headquarters was in Lower Manhattan, in the Village. And this particular building had no 90-degree corners. So I said, somebody must know something. So the first thing that we do is we sit down and we cut out a bunch of triangles. Now, these triangles don't have to be big. What we're trying to do is we're trying to convert those three, because, those corners are not just 190 degrees. It's a series of 390-degree corners. But if we take the triangle and we wedge it up so that it's not flat against the wall, but, where the points of the triangle are fitting into the grooves of where the wall meets the ceiling. So in other words, the triangle's facing down at like a 45-degree angle to us. That will convert from positive ions to negative ions. So if I were to put a triangle in each of my corners, instantly it's converting the positive ions back into something more productive to our health and our consciousness. But because we have so many things in our lifestyle, and I laugh at that word, that are generating these positive ions, that just converting them is not enough. So the second thing we have to do is we have to make our own ion generator. Now, if you're fortunate enough to have one of these things, there was the ionic breeze years ago, and there are more sophisticated negative ion generators that cost hundreds of dollars. They only cover one room. Whereas we have found out that if we place a quartz crystal into water, and specifically a glass container of water, and if we wrap that quartz crystal in copper wire first, we don't just wrap it, we coil it, which means we wrap the copper wire so that one layer is next to the next, to the next and next and next. If we stick that into that water and we just wait a couple of days, it's going to generate negative ions that are coming out of the glass. And so therefore we can make our own negative ion generators, one for each room. You sit down, you get a buy. If you can't afford the materials I use foam core board, and I paint them, and I use all kinds of special materials. People say, I can't afford that. Who cares? I couldn't afford it either. It took me years to develop this as a product. I sat down with an old box and cut out the box and made triangles. And guess what? The more triangles I put on, so if I make a 3-inch triangle, and I put a 2.5-inch triangle, and a 2-inch triangle, everywhere there's a point. So every triangle has 3 points. everywhere there's a point, negative ions are being generated. So if I put 3 triangles on there, then I've got 9 points of negative ion generation. That's how we start. That's how we convert our house. And this is not metaphysical. So many people, because they hear that I'm talking about pyramids, they want to go into the 14th dimension. This is physical. This can be measured. There's less dust. The dust will fall to the ground. You'll be able to breathe better. Your rate of digestion will speed up. You will get angry, but you're not going to get rageful. It keeps it in balance. That's what happens when you live in a 70-30 environment. And also, it will occur to us to spend some time trying to contact God, the universe, Allah, whatever we want to call that. But we got to get our house in order, literally. Now, in terms of what I said before, I said your computer, your television, your fluorescent light, your refrigerator. So all 4 of those will benefit by having a quartz crystal on the electrical cord that comes from that unit. When it comes to your refrigerator, the refrigerator is also vibrating. It's vibrating at 60 times per second. Well, actually 120. And that's out of alignment with the human body. So we want to eventually put our refrigerator on something so that it stops that vibration from affecting us. But then we also want to put a small pyramid or one of my ionizer quartz crystal things inside the refrigerator, because the refrigerator is generating nothing but positive ions. And even if it wasn't, positive ions keep our food fresh. Negative ions keep our food fresh. Plastic absorbs negative ions. So even if we had ions in the refrigerator, it'd be harder for the food to absorb that.
So to be clear, you make something you can put in the refrigerator that we can purchase, that we can put in
Absolutely.
our food.
I've been making it for 35 years.
Don't let me offend you, but similar to Delbert Blair's Dio plate, but cheaper and more practical because it works on the whole refrigerator.
Once again, that's apples
and I'm
and
not
oranges.
attacking one scientist against another. I'm not trying to pit that.
Wait.
Yeah.
Bro, I want to answer your question. Anybody that knows me can tell you that I spoke with Dr. Blair many times when we were at Reverend Valentine's meeting of the Master Series. Look, That's apples and oranges. Dr. Blair's work has to do with making the body receptive and keeping, these negative energies from keeping our receptivity. I'm talking about our environment, not just our body. So there's not. So in other words, I can't even go with better, stronger. It's not like that. You need one for the body. You need one for the environment. Most people don't realize. I'm talking. People have heard me. You've heard me for 4 years talk about positive ions.
Yeah.
Some people are aware. Some people are aware that the TV gives off positive ions, or that the computer gives off positive ions. But how many people have been hip to the fact that the sheetrock in your house, in our houses, give off positive ions? I'm just saying that we have to examine our lifestyle, and we really have to, people just assume. They just assume, well, the government, they must have approved, it must have somebody, who said? Who said that? We got to check this stuff out for ourselves, and slowly over time have a program of how we're going to substitute or replace or neutralize the materials that we have in our home.
Okay, while we're talking about it, can we incorporate a bed? You know what I mean? Like
Did you say bed?
Yeah, like let's incorporate.
BED?
Because actually, it looks like it's like I won't go there. I'll leave out. But
Brother,
it seems like our houses are
brother.
totally designed in this world to be destructive for us.
Right.
You know what I mean? If the sheetrock is bad,
brother,
you know what I mean?
look, brother.
Yes. I'm here. Can you hear me?
What I'm trying, I lost my headphones. What I'm trying to tell you, is that the very second thing that the universe told me to talk about, they said, you got to talk about the bed.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm acting a little bit surprised, it's only because it's like this has been the easiest broadcast I've ever had. They have prepared me in ways that I couldn't possibly have known how correct this is. Okay.
This wouldn't be our first time to do a show where we've been in sync, But go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no. We've been in sync many times, though. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what is the function of the bedroom? What is the function of sleeping?
To regenerate. To allow.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 7 to 9. So for me, it's regeneration. You know what I mean? I'm attractive. So.
Okay. And see, once again, my follow-up question is, how does sleep regenerate the body?
Serotonin, melatonin is secreted while you sleep. You relax and you go into another world.
Okay, no. No. Okay.
Well, that's Morse concept.
That is
no, go ahead.
That okay. I'm only saying this because from the time I was 5 years old, every month since I've been 5 years old, every month of my life, there has been an article in one of these newspapers or magazines that says science doesn't know the function of sleep or dreaming. And first thing that I want to say that science has known for at least 5,000 years is that the brain does work when we're conscious. And when it does this work, it uses brain cells. Eventually, those brain cells get used up. And so when we sleep and dream, we are allowing those parts, there are certain elements that go in and clear out all the used up brain cells. And that happens over a series of dreams, which happen every 90 minutes. When we go through enough of these series of dreams, once the metabolic waste, because that's what it's called, once the metabolic waste of the brain is removed, then the body will clear out all the other metabolic waste of all the other bodily functions, and we wake up rested and restored. So dreams we have to have a certain number of dreams in order for the brain to be cleared out. And once the brain is cleared out, then the body is cleared out, and we get rid of this waste. We know for a fact that Americans don't have enough sleep and we don't have enough sunlight. So between the lack of vitamin D and the lack of going through enough of the dream cycles, we're not getting rid of all the metabolic waste, and therefore we don't wake up rested and restored. But the function of sleeping and dreaming is to clear out all the metabolic waste. Once we clear out all the metabolic waste, between 3 and 4:30 p.m. is the most negative ion generation on the planet. I'm going to repeat that. The most negative ions are between 3 and 4:30 a.m. And that's the second part. That's the part you're talking about. Once we clear out the metabolic waste, then the melanocytes will start to pick up deep listening. What the funk is deep listening? That is going to what the physicists call the non-local reality. What does that mean? What does non-local reality mean in practical terms? If I'm Joe Blow, the wino on the street, what the funk do I know about non-local reality? Well, I know a bunch about it, because that means I'm talking to the stars and the entities that are out in the universe. That's what non-local reality means. So the next time you watch these specials and they say non-local reality, you're like, oh, the Space Brothers. And what I'm saying, let's connect the dots here. First, we have to go through sleep. Sleep gives us a series of dream cycles, which are 90 minutes apart. As we clear out the metabolic waste of the brain and the body, the melanocytes start to pick up on information from the stars and the star beings. That's the function of sleep. So we're supposed to be getting instructed by tuning into signals that are not in our local reality. Local reality means a sound, a smell, something that I can, that my body can immediately react to. If I'm talking to the Arcturians or the Syrians, then that's way far away. I'm not smelling them, not necessarily. If I go into resonance with them, then of course I'm smelling them. So now I'm going to answer your question. Our bed, just like our flower bed, that's the place of us growing. What did he just say? The bed is the place of growing. It's sticking the taproot down into the ground and growing up, in the opposite direction to which the taproot is growing, but in the same shape. I don't know if you know that. That's called tessellation. That if I look at the root system, I can tell you what that plant or that tree will look like, because it'll be identical, just going in the opposite direction. So, the one thing that we do not want is to have something that is going clockwise that's facing the body. Anything that's clockwise that's facing the body is taking energy away from the body. Things that are counterclockwise are building up energy fields in the body. So if you work in an office that has a clock with a second hand, and that thing is a sweeping second hand, I mean, you got a static second hand. That's the one that goes 1 second and stops, and goes another second and stops. That's not as harmful as one that's a sweeping second hand. That's draining energy from us. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. But my question is it because we're in the northern hemisphere, or is it different in the southern hemisphere, or it's the same?
No, I'm saying even if your bed was in the southern hemisphere, you don't want to have anything that's clockwise facing your body. And what I'm referring to is the coils in the bed.
Yes.
Okay, so therefore, as George Clinton, my teacher, has said many years ago, funk not only moves, it can be moved. And what the reason I quote that is because even though the coils in our bed have deleterious, big fancy word, has this harmful effect to us, we can neutralize that. And the way to neutralize the harmful effect of the bed is by taking a piece of copper wire and you attach it to the side of your mattress, and you go all the way around, all four sides. You can go all the way around until you reach that same piece. But instead of attaching it to that piece, you either have it go past where you started, either above or below. And if you do that, that will neutralize any harmful effects of the coils of the bed. Now, I called all the bed companies that I could, all the popular bed companies, and I asked them, in making of those coils, do you specifically pay attention to whether they're made clockwise or counterclockwise, or if you put them in the bed, whether it's clockwise? And they all told me, we make them clockwise, we don't pay attention. Okay, let's deal with water for a second. You're talking about the environment, okay? Okay. Now, one of the things that I grew up with is they said, don't run the water. Like if you go into the bathroom in the morning, you go brush your teeth.
I got a question though before we go further. So if you in the mattress with coil springs wrapped the wrong way, then that whole cleansing of your body, Drew, your dream state is terminated, right? Or it doesn't work as effectively, or you never get to the point where you could hear. Right. Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha. So I got my next question. Okay, go ahead with the water.
Now, see, once again, you're describing it from if you don't do anything. If you do what I described, then you have access to the full information that your melanocytes can take in. Well, of course, you got to put your triangles up too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just wanted the audience to know, like, bring it out a little bit, like, put a little emphasis on it.
Right.
Because, I have a lot of friends that have problems sleeping. I never really sleep in the bed. I sleep on the floor, so it doesn't bother me as much. But that's my next question about carpet. But let's do the water thing first. Because you're referring to like a water mattress.
I was going to say our drinking water, but
okay.
See, once again, I said, look, I go wherever we're led to go. Okay, moving water that is above ground, moving water generates negative ions. So when I'm talking, when I say put your triangles up in your house, that's generating moving water. We just don't see it, but it's generating moving water. So if you have a water mattress, you're not getting the moving water because the water's not exposed to the air. If you had a pool that you could jump, if you had a pool that you could have a floating mattress in it, then that would be extremely good for your sleeping. But having a mattress that's covered with plastic is, yes, it's womb-like. It does have some advantages, but you're not getting the full advantage.
Okay.
What I was going to talk about is simply that, by law, the government has to put out, they have to analyze your drinking water in whatever town you live in. They have to, see if there's lead or any other chemicals in that water. and then they have to publish in the newspaper what they found and what general rules they have about water. So this happens at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. One of the things they say in there, this is in the newspaper every year. It says that overnight, the lead and the other chemicals that are in that drinking water will accumulate at the head of the faucet. Did you hear what I just said?
Yep.
The government is telling us. The government is telling us, not some conspiracy theory. The government is telling us that all these chemicals are there, right there at the faucet head. So, what do they say? They say run the water at least 2 minutes before you use it in the morning, because you're flushing out those chemicals that have accumulated at the nozzle or the head. And that's what I recommend. That you run the water, you go in, you go, if it's your sink, or if it's the sink or you're washing your face, you let that water run for at least a couple of minutes before you start. Now, also, I tend to say that while the water's running, that I put my face over the sink, because I'm still getting those negative. I'm breathing in the negative ions in the morning. But you don't want to wake up and just draw the water out of the tap to make your coffee. You don't want to do that. You do not want to do that.
That's powerful. Well, mine, yeah, very. So I want to go a whole different level. You know what I mean? Because it's like
go, bro.
Go. It's gonna take us way off track, but is the design of our is the design? I know you do, but I want to stay on letting the people know, because a lot of people concerned like, yo, Usiku, man, with all the things that's going on, they want to come home and feel safe. You know what I mean? It's the things you tell you now. You got to even look at your bed, dude. You know what I mean? And that what lead me to this question, though, is like, who designed all this negativity that we sleep in, and this is on purpose? You know what I mean? Coming from our humble beginnings, you know what I mean? As the indigenous, where we were closer to Earth, and now that we are separated from Earth and what we call as modern, we live every day with something that makes us so unhealthy. You know what I mean? Like that.
Listen. Okay. Okay.
Can I get this one?
Get it. Go.
Oh man. You said what?
But before you go, and also, family, this is family night. This was a small group. It's designed for, if y'all have questions, y'all can ask questions too. And so y'all can do that. Okay, go ahead, Mike. I apologize for that. Yeah.
Well, you want to know, basically, what you're saying is that you have different entities that at work, and it's and you have to understand that those entities never had I wouldn't say our best interests. It was almost that this place was raised like a farm. Remember, everything on this planet grows. So basically, so everything you look at, like how we grow our foods and stuff like that. Well, you had different entities also that were growing us the same way, because they look at some of us the same way we look at a chicken sandwich. You know,
That's
so
right. That's right.
So that's just the reality. You know, so like you see all those kids that was missing on milk cartons and stuff like that, and they're nowhere to be found. Because as all of that stuff is coming out, and you see that all everywhere, everyone's talking about that now. But not in that understanding the concentrated effort of why, to keep a lot of us off track or off or unbalanced is because they don't need
Mm-hmm.
you. They don't need people walking around in their right mind. Most people are walking around out their
Mm-hmm.
damn mind because they don't use their mind. So one of the challenges
Right.
I like
That's
to
right.
do most of the time with folks is challenge them to think because we live in a reactionary world
Mm-hmm.
where everybody's reacting versus to stop and think.
Right.
Like I'm gonna give you a
Right.
test, Ezekiel. You probably heard the test, but I'm gonna give you this test, and I'm gonna see if you pass it. It's a really easy test. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Spell the word stop.
STOP.
Spell the word pot.
POT.
Spell the word top.
TOP.
What do you do at a green light?
GO.
Ah, you stopped and think. Most people will react and said, "No,
Uh-huh.
I stop."
Right.
And you go at a green
Right.
light. I mean, you
Right.
go at a you know.
Right.
But the reality is that most of us don't stop and think. We react. Like the medicine
Right.
that we have today
Right.
is
Right.
reaction. It's not a proactive thing. It's not about doing the things that
Mm-hmm.
proactive to stop these things. That's what Dr. Les is about. He's about, okay, we got this problem. What are we going to do to stop it? More so
Mm-hmm.
of react to after the fact. The police can't come to your house till
Right.
after
Right.
somebody
Right.
gets shot. So you have to
Right.
realize
Right. Right.
that the concentrated effort is to keep you out your damn mind, not using your mind in your
Mm-hmm.
right mind because you
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to be at your fully functional self because of the things you would do. And what I like about the history lesson, or not even history lesson, it's just going back to where we was in our worthwhile cultures, where the things that we're able to do when we did think, when we did. So it's not that we can't, it's just whether or not we'll get back to that to those
Mm-hmm.
basics.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Right.
answer to that is just that you have forces at work that don't need the populace to be in their right being because it's all about control. So there's a concentrated
Mm-hmm.
effort on
Mm-hmm.
who controls the planet. So there's a war
Right.
raging as we speak for the planet. And the harvest has to do with where did it grow you? Where did you grow up at? Where did you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
Where did you grow up at? Notice where did they
Mm-hmm.
what grow you? Grow, because anything that simulates with the
Right.
sun, it grows. You know, the most abundant element that we spend, I mean, that we seed on this planet is iron. So that deals with the oxidation or
Mm-hmm.
rust, what you call gain green. Notice how they played on words with the word green, with gain green. And they talk about little green men. And then
Mm-hmm.
anything that simulates with the sun is with the color what? Green. They know something is the relation, so
Mm-hmm.
they would never think you would put the relation connect the dots. Because if you breathe in abundance
Mm-hmm.
of gold and an abundance of gold and you oxidize that, what color would you get? A greenish blue. And then you talk about those beings
Mm-hmm.
that travel that way with that skin tone and how some babies come out with that green skin tone. But I yield.
Yes. Yes. Excellent.
But that's referring to um because the style of house we live in is more European opposed to it being indigenous. So are you saying that
Okay.
that being that created that European race is the reason why we live in an environment where we stay detached from the planet? Brother Mike? I mean 5,000? I think I lost him.
No, I don't think he's saying that at all. I,
Okay.
uh, well, how I interpret it is that we're working through these understandings, meaning that we've been separated from our natural way of doing things. We've been forced to eat food that doesn't encourage us to be able to hear what the universe and our ancestors are saying. And therefore, we've tried, we've worked, we've made the best of these circumstances. We've taken stuff that should have killed us and have actually built upon it. So I'm not too worried about that, because people are going to wake up to who they are and that this is not working for them. They already are.
They are.
They already are. I mean, you got more white people marching for Black Lives Matter than you got black people marching for Black Lives. I mean, people are waking up. They're seeing that this is all connected. That it's the very things that they've all taught us to strive for are the very things that are killing us. I mean, think about when in the 70s and 80s, when we were young adults, and they had all these, what do they call it, stick-proof cooking pans, where you could cook something and it just slides off. Okay? And everybody's thinking about convenience and time. Nobody was thinking that the material that they made this stuff from was harmful to us, but then we found that out to be true later. So, if I can restore something, then I'm not going to be that upset about the fact that they put this in our path, or led me to think that I needed this material. And in other words, what I'm saying is we have to evaluate our life and our lifestyle according to what our goals are. We can't, I said this before, we can't keep bitching and moaning about why things don't work. It's not supposed to work. It doesn't work for us. Those of us who are trying to have long distance communication. That's not their job to make our thing work. That's not their job.
And at the end of the day,
that's our job.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, if you've been raised right, if you've been raised in an environment conducive to having your own, you want your own anyway. You're not worried about what somebody else is doing,
right.
what they have, because you're like, you know what, right now, like for example, you're asking the question how we make our houses like how we need to have our houses. Like you say, the BMI scale ain't fit for some folks. Why? Because it wasn't created for some folks. You have to know it. Like I feel like this. There's different species of animals. Well, there's different species of human beings. So I'm something other than those beings that's walking here. That's why we say greetings. Because greetings, we're dealing with beings. We're not the earthlings.
Right.
Hello?
That's right. That's right.
We're not the earthlings.
That's right. That's right.
We are not the earthlings. Hello? That's why they told us greetings. When you talk about something other from your mother, you're talking to something, you're not from here. You're just visiting.
But brother, many years ago, I asked my good friend who had a radio program. We were on the radio, and I said, "So what do these people call us?" And he said, "African Americans." Or I didn't say what do they call it. I'm like, "Who are we?" And he's like, "African Americans." I'm like, "You left out one of the A's." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "We're Astro-African Americans. We landed here, and we're going to take off from here."
I mean, you look at
ain't nothing from here.
You look at the word descended. This planet, like you said, if you looked at some of the movies when they show you the truth in some of the science fiction,
right.
not science fiction.
That's right.
When he said,
right.
The planet was seeded. We talked about anything that grows, it was seeded. How do you chart? And you can't say, "Well, I don't want to change." Well, how do you chart growth? Because you have to change.
That's a version. See, that's a version. Some say it's. See, I was watching Billy Carson the other day, and he was saying that we were from a different universe, and then we collided with the Milky Way, and then we got stuck in the
brother.
orbit.
That's the same thing.
Some people say there's some truth in that.
In the same, the point of the matter, right now in this environment, when you have a baby, how do you chart a baby's growth? How do you chart a baby growth? It changes. It grows. Notice it grows. It don't just start. They don't just the baby just don't come out poof. It goes through what different stages.
Right.
And that's with us. Right. It just don't. We don't just go poof like a grown man, poof, a grown woman. You know.
Right.
It has growth. Right. And so that growth has to do with having been here, whether you want to call it how many revolutions around the sun or whatever. But that's here on this particular place. But some of us know this is not the only place that we've been.
Correct. Absolutely correct. That's right.
So for me, as understanding,
brother 5,000. I just want to reiterate your point. Some of us come here to see the planet with the further understanding of what we've already gone through. The very thing that you're saying, some of us know there's more than just this. Not all of it. There's some souls who originate from this planet.
Right.
And there's some that don't. Absolutely. And I'm just backing up your points. That some of us are a little bit older and we've seen some things. We've sampled other realms. And we're like, no, this ain't the best selection. Or I should say only selection, not best.
So when you say to me, going back to the first point, Brother Usiku, when you say about the why is it a concentrated effort? The concentrated effort has to do with those beings that want to be in control, that use it so that like we go and pick out what chicken we want today. They want to be able to pick out what human that we need to get a body part from today, or what blood that we need to sample from blood type, because they're modern day vampires that you call hemophilics. So they constantly need blood. So who's the best blood? Let's go deal with this primitive man, or should I say primate, because it's the best part of the meat. So they're looking at the prime being that, and we are those prime beings. That's why they say Optimus Prime. You know, one of the primes. So to me, it's like when you see things for the reality, it's like a lot of us walk in the illusion of the world because that's what they force fed, and they don't need you to walk in the reality of what actually has to be done. So like I said, a lot of us are walking around as reactionary beings versus the proactive beings and say, you know what, I ain't gonna have this happen. I'm already prepared. Like right now, you being proactive to get that safe zone. Because I see that it got to be here. Why? Because when shit hit the fan and you already see it's hitting the fan, it's got to be in. It's got to be done. It's got to be here.
That's true, brother. No. I appreciate. I appreciate the bill. I was trying to stay away from dealing with the Watchers and Nephilim because I've been kind of hooked on that lately. But we need to do a show on that one. You know what I mean, too. You know, because I was listening to a brother break down what the meta, and the meta means watcher. He was saying, and I was like, wow, that's deep. You know what I mean? But because you come up like I'm in Egypt, blah blah blah. And the more you study, you find the Egyptians may have been the space people that may not have been healthy for us. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And so, you got to like watch what you find. Now I'm more on my toes about what I follow. Like with my daughter, we call Maya. That's, some things. But, don't call no other guy right now, daughter, because, we don't know what's happening, because they do these translations of how some of the Watchers and the Nephilims or the things that came and laid down with the daughters of man, right, that are still monitoring, like you say. So we get these environments in our home that make it so that we can't elevate to kick them off our planet in some ways. And I just didn't want to go there tonight, but like
It's
that.
not
But I
even.
did want to.
I don't even think it's about that you are going there. I think I would just wanted to address the fact that why the concentrated effort to keep people poisoned, and it's not. This is not a black thing or a white thing. This is a human.
No,
This is a world
no,
thing because they're not picking and
that's
choose
right.
what grocery stores they put this in.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not
that's
like
right.
it's
That's
not
right.
I
it's
beg
not
to
like.
differ with you, but go ahead, and I'll give my point of view.
I mean, my point is because of how everything is set up already. It's already set up in a public world that you're not a human being because when you work a job they looking for a robot. Oh, you can't be here. Oh, let's go get somebody else. Next, next, next. And most of us are taking things personal and they're conducting business out here. And you got to separate yourself from the business. So when you now do that, now you can operate where you now understand, okay, I operate in a certain way where I take myself out the equation. Because most of us are caught up. And that's what now when I see caught up, I hear caught up in the world because you're looking at they got, remember, it's a whole bunch of smoke and mirrors. You thinking one thing while they doing another because they're always insulting your intelligence. Are you in the know? That's the purpose why we have these
Mm-hmm.
calls, and so we can put people into the know. Oh, this is how you go ahead and handle your business. Now you can handle your life where you ain't worried about whether or not they trying to emanate race. You already prepared for it. You got all your ammo, you know, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
our concern is. What are you doing about it? Not I'm with Lester. I'm with the gripe. You know, I understand the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but what we going to do about the situation now that you have it? What role do you play in the solution? When you understand there's a problem, there is no solution because you now know what you got to do. It's whether or not you want to do it or not. So at this point, it's like, okay, there's a war. You know, what side of the war you going to participate on? You going to participate on the being a victim, or you going to participate in being a warrior
Right.
where you could come out victorious? That it's the bottom line. It's for me is yes, you have a balance, but you understand what it's, you've been given both natures for a reason, not by accident. There's a reason why you're here. And I hope for some people it's not just to be stand on the sideline and become somebody's a useless eater, because that's what you've been labeled as.
Okay, okay, brother. Are there any people that want to ask questions?
Yeah, because I got it where they can unmute themselves. If anybody wants to ask a question, you
Okay,
can unmute yourself.
all right.
Yeah, my next one was looking at the 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 items in your home, like the surveillance items, but more so like that listening device that they put in their homes. How do you feel about that in
Mm-hmm.
relationship to it being connected with AI? You know, which is, I think, you know the one I'm talking about.
Are you
Is
referring?
I can't remember the name because I
You mean
really I don't, it's what's one of them that you can just say her name like hey Google, and the speaker turns on
right,
and
right, right, right.
yeah,
You're right. You're talking about smart speakers and
yeah,
yeah, all
how do
that
you
kind of
feel?
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, once again, once again, my feelings. You know, if okay, I'm gonna address your question. If I'm not tuning into the universe, then I'm opening myself up to being tuned into by the forces of people that are here. It's as simple. To me, it's as simple as that. You know, this is if I got this smart speaker or this thing in my house, and I'm saying, tune me into whatever, then I'm allowing these people to know what I'm tuning into, and therefore they can adjust and change. You know, if they know I'm listening to a certain station, then they can control what that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So all I'm saying is that if I'm not tuning into the universe, then I'm more likely of the mind to think, well, they would have checks and balances on these things. It's okay to use it because that's how people, they use stuff until they find out that it's been used against them. But most people assume that everything's okay. Somebody must have monitored it. Somebody must have checked this out. So, we live in a very, an environment in which people lie to themselves. I don't know that's what it is. They're lying to themselves about what it is. Somebody must be looking after me. You hear these people talking, they're protesting and they're saying, well, our government must do this or somebody must be watching. No one said that. No one said that, that these laws or these rules are written to protect us. So we have to do our own investigation. And thank God we have, well, let me put it this way. When I go on Google and I type in whatever I type in, it is up to me to know that the thing that pops up first is the most popular site. That does not mean that that's going to have the information I'm looking for. In other words, most of my friends will call me and complain that they looked at the first 3 sites and they didn't see the information I was telling them. And I'm like, I looked at 70 sites before I found the information that I'm telling you. It requires persistence, just like they studied long enough to know what affects us and how they can trick us. It takes study and devotion and time. And the most important thing I'm trying to get across is it's our, I was going to say attitude, but just saying it's our perspective. If we value our connection with the universe, then we'll behave in a certain manner. If we think that the world or the environment we live in, we can manipulate it or trick it or, do something, to get over, then we're going by the rules of, we're going by the laws of the world we live in, not the universe. The universe is consistent. It's efficient. It's quiet. It doesn't have excess heat, meaning that, we're not using stuff inefficiently. It's very efficient. And there's no reason why we should not be copying those role models and not the role models of the stuff we see in the physical world. Because we have the spiritual background to know the difference. He's up there.
Cool. And Mike, you had a little background noise. But when you want to let me know, and I'll unmute you again, Brother 5000. Can we add a frequency to our home? My thing, since we already went there, I was wondering, could we add a frequency that will repel snakes, reptilians?
Sure. Absolutely.
And
Well,
is there a frequency for that we can put in our homes where dark energy can't come in? You know, for those energies, because I have friends that believe sage solves everything, but it don't. I got a spirit that blinks, and then it came in the form of a dog
okay.
a couple weeks ago. Had my house smelling like dog, right? It was crazy, you know, because I went
Mm-hmm.
down Friday and spent some time where I did sweat, and the sister Brenda that did the sweat was like, "That was your thing when you came out of sweat. You didn't say the right words, and that sweat, you know." And it's funny, right? Because this morning I did ritual. I got my daughter some bacon, right? Went to the grocery store, came back, stayed in the house 5 minutes, went back, and my car wouldn't start. So this spirit actually drains energy. It lives in the light, so it makes a light flash in my house. But in that 5 minutes, it
Okay.
drained my car battery. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not that I'm trying to pick your brain because it's cool. He'll be around, whatever, you know, like that. But my thing is, for everybody else, there are things that Sage won't get out. So, is there like, could we get a frequency generator or put certain frequencies in our home so stuff will stay out?
Listen to me carefully, okay?
Okay.
The very first thing I do when these type of situations show up in my life, the very first thing I do is I bless the obstacle or the thing that's keeping me from being my ideal self. I bless it because it's showing me where I need to do work. It's showing me where they say the weak link in the armor. It's showing me that. So I'm like, thank you very much, because now I want to work on that. So, in other words, I'm trying to answer your question. And you know me well enough to know that I'm not going to give some patent answer because it's different for different people. Meaning that, if I totally believe 100% in the universe or God, and yet I still doubt myself, then that will come out in what I'm asking for. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing because it's saying, no, I have to work on that. The universe wants you to have whatever you want. In the universe, if you want to expand out to a galaxy, the Egyptians told us that the pharaohs eventually became stars. The pharaohs eventually became stars. So they didn't die. They died in the sense of I can't talk to Imhotep III, but I can talk to Imhotep III eternally because now he's up there beaming out from some star system.
I mean,
so we
it's
have
true.
to look at this thing. No. I just know. Let me just babble a minute longer. We're talking. I'm sorry, but we're talking from this limited perspective, from this Western perspective. Like, oh, I die, and the Egyptians. Look, if you look at the scriptures of the Egyptians, they did not talk about hell. There was no hell. There was no devil. There was only evolution. And every time people talk to me about Egyptians and the afterlife, I kick them in their butt. I literally have to scrape off my shoe after I'm done. Because the Egyptians never once talked about anything like that. The Egyptians believed in the eternal now. And when you are dealing with the eternal now, that means that you've got enough physics to know that if you go far enough out, you will reach where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
What did he just say? No, you're going to go back to the point of origin. And therefore, you're going to see the past and the future. And therefore, you don't have to worry about controlling anything, do you? other than yourself. So let's giddy up on this one. What I'm saying is we're still as much as we put on the kente cloth and we got the ankh and we're walking around, we still have the Western mentality.
You ain't ever lied.
This limited thing. We're not limited.
And we're not linear beings. See, for me,
well, I'm sorry. Once again, I'm bogarting you. I literally I gotta tell you this. Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's all right. Go ahead, man.
Okay.
Take the mic.
Okay. Hell yes. I was looking at my physics book, and it said, the more curvilinear something is, the greater its potential to collect and let off energy. And the only thing I could say when I read that was badonkandak. The feminine, the universe is curvilinear. It's not straight lines. And therefore, light travels in a straight line. But that's only 3%. What did I just say? 3% of the universe. The rest of the universe is black and round. And therefore, if I'm going to study science, and this is why you have me on, because I got to study the 97% of the black and round in connection with the linear and light. We're that combination. And therefore, as long as they keep us focusing on the 3% of light, we're not going to get the 100% of our curvilinear nature. Or to put it another way, the sooner we get to the rounded booty call, the sooner we get to our eternal nature. And as George Clooney said, can you get to that?
Brother, that's
so. Go ahead, brother Mike.
Yes, go ahead. No. I'm done.
Okay. In that bit that you said, I had to download. My ears start ringing.
Yes.
And
yes.
What popped in my mind was outformation. See, outformation, because you're not just as a scientist, but as your being and your true being is to bring the outformation of, because remember, everything in which you teach is outside the scope of most people, which is outside their sphere of knowledge. And everybody's sphere of knowledge on this planet is because of this sphere of this planet. So you only learned everything under the sun, and there's nothing new under the sun. So what you have to offer to bring has to do with outformation, because it's outside the scope of what the normal people are used to hearing or being. So you have to. So that's the correlation where I could say, for people to say, well, I'm not from here. How do you know you're not from here?
Right.
Because you don't fit in with everybody else. It's just something about where you say, well, you was that black sheep, or you were the black. Why? Because you didn't fit in. Something about you, or why you're on they call you, I notice, an outsider. Because you don't belong in that scope of or that sphere. Just like you had the Epcot Center, you notice that sphere. When I say the sphere, some people might call it, if they're religious, the Ark of the Covenant. That rainbow, it says, because I promised not to destroy the earth by water, by fire, because once that sphere, once the sun that reigns between the 7 colors of the rainbow gets there. So that's that. So for me, that's what was told to me, to tell you that you're here to bring in that affirmation. That term.
Yes.
Put
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Put that.
Yes.
Keep that with what you do. So outflammation is about inflammation because you're inflaming the light of that, going back to that sun. So you're inflaming that
Mm.
soul, that being, that solar plex. So bring the fire, or
Yes.
bring that. How you said that bread of that soul, of the bread of how you said. I promise. It was not I promise, but what is it? About food. And it's not just it's not just regular food. You want soul food. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
food for the
Right. Right.
soul,
Right. Right. Right.
The SOL.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not just
Right.
regular food that you eat. You know what I'm saying? So keep bringing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
All
Right. Right.
right, that's
That's
all.
right.
That's all I got to
That's right.
say.
That's hey. Excuse me, Mr. 5000. Okay. Um.
Yes.
Excuse me, but not the last time I looked at it, but the first time I looked at it, the Egyptians told me that the universe was called Newt, N-U-T.
Mhm.
And Newt, if we look at the images of Newt, she has all kinds of stars and things all around her. Okay? And then the Western scientists told me that depending on the size of the star, which is to say, going from the smaller stars to the bigger stars, the bigger the star is, the more elements it creates. And only the very biggest stars create the heavy metal, the heavy elements like gold. But they shoot all that stuff out. So therefore, the stars are really creating the elements that will eventually get here to Earth that will feed us. And that's when my brain exploded, because I realized that the Egyptians, by calling this principle Newt, was alerting me to the fact that space provides the nutrition. That we don't get fed from the stuff that's here, that's bullcrap. This stuff has to be delivered, just like, I don't know these delivery services, but
that's why we say being
Amazon.
downloaded. That's why you say being downloaded.
That's
That's
right.
why you
That's right.
understand, like we're
That's right.
walking
That's right.
radios.
Yeah.
So you turn this to a certain
That's
frequency.
right. That's
You
right.
bring
Now,
a certain tone.
of course, yes, of course, we're walking radios. No, look, my friend, look. In my mother's nursing book, my mother was a nurse. And in that book, it said every cell in the human body is a radio transmitter and receiver. And I was like, oh, that means that every cell can talk to every other cell. And I only could come to that conclusion because previous to that, I had read that the Earth is not a sphere, it's not a complete round ball. It's a dodecahedron. And how do we know that? Because Plato told us that. He said if we look at the Earth from above, it looks like a ball with 12 patches. That's a dodecahedron. And when I looked in my science book, it said that the properties of a dodecahedron is that it broadcasts radio waves. So when I put those two things together, I realized that every cell, because we're living on a planet that's in the shape of a radio transmitter, then every cell from everything can talk to every other cell from everything. And that's when my brain exploded, because I'm like, that's why they call it the cell phone. And that's what you're talking about, my brother. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about we're just resurrecting this knowledge. It's not like we're going to invent anything. We ain't invented nothing. Okay? At the best I can call it is recall. You know? Like, I'm going to pay $90 a month for somebody to sucker me out of something when I can communicate with every cell on the planet? every cell? I can talk to Beyonce's liver cell?
That's you want to talk to. You're off the chain. Off the chain. I like how you went there with that. That's pretty cool.
I'm just saying. I mean, because the women are like, I can sample Denzel, so you know what? So look, we have to look. People.
That's
keep
almost like me saying I want to get in your
jeans.
I want to get in your jeans, and you talking about your jeans, and I'm
I
talking
want to
about
get in
your
your
DNA.
jeans, of course, bro. That's right. Exactly right. Yeah, you right, as they say down south. Look, brother, the brother will tell you, my major thing is let's do the homework so we can get to go outside and play.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, let's repair society. Let's have materials that are healthy. Let's do all this stuff. But let's get to the play aspect of this thing. Because, and why do I say that? I say that because when I was in school and my teacher was teaching me about linguistics, and he said, it's a curious thing, but the ancient Egyptians had more puns than any other civilization. And I instantly knew, it's like literally that light bulb moment. I knew that you could only have that much fun when you have mastered what you have studied. Just like any, like people say, how can you say that? I'm like, when you see these basketball players, they all mastered their game. So now, they've shot those, they shot the ball into the hoop 100,000, 1,000,000 times. Okay, so they had the technical skill, but now it's like the actual, like the play, like getting out there in that moment, that moment you see that person hesitate, to go that way or this way. That's how we have to be. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. Our spiritual nature is not about reacting to anything. Reacting is not spiritual. And I said it before. When we have our melanocytes activated, and they're in contact with these things, whether we know it or not, because look, we're in contact with this stuff already. It's not like we have to, people say, oh, I got to fast and do it. No, we're sampling this stuff billions of times a second. We just have to be aware of it. But once we start to be aware, then we're interacting. We're not reacting. See, because people are saying to me, there's action and reaction. And I'm like, no, there's interaction as well. Excuse me, I just know how to play. Because Little Western doesn't have time for all this complicated stuff. Remember when we talk about complicated? Like, no, you don't make this too complicated. Do it. Just do it. Well, I'm not sure if I'll get in the hoop. Just do it. Because every time people say, I'm not sure if I'm going to make this shot, I'm like, you're not sure you're not. Either.
Do you think that's why you and like Niles deGrasse and a couple of other physicists are so popular? Is because y'all have fun with it? And people resonate off of it?
Look, everybody, let's go back to what I said before about improvisation and how that's a yes process. Everybody recognizes their childhood innocence. They all know when they were just completely creative. And therefore, anytime I'm talking to someone and I'm not putting them down for whatever wild, quote unquote, wild theory or wild thing they're saying, there's nothing wild. That's what science is saying stuff, that's wild. Mr. Heisenberg, in the early part of the 20th century, everybody else was talking about atoms and this and that. And he's like, no. If I look at the experiment, I'm going to change the experiment. He brought the whole consciousness thing in. That's wild. That was so wild, it just upset the scientific community for decades. And the regular populace, even more. So, we look, this is all an investigation. And I'm sorry, but if I look at our society, our 20th century society, even the people who are trying to investigate real metaphysics, and they're doing a good job. They're actually coming up with answers. But who has the time to then get a goddamn 50-foot piece of rock and carve in their knowledge so that other people thousands of years from now can interpret that? We're not preparing for leaving stuff for other people. The Egyptians left their shit for us. They left it. They didn't have to do any of that. They could have just said, "Oh, we just shit. We saw this stuff." But no, they knew that part of connecting is to give information so other people can connect. And that's what we have to honor that. We have to say, no. How long did it take to carve out all those hieroglyphs? That's some high science that they cause to indent in. When I was in art school, I only went to one semester of college. But when I was in art school, my professor, not knowing I was in Egypt, he was like, well, you can carve out or you can carve in. He said it's much harder to carve in than to carve out. And so I'm looking at these columns and I'm like, damn. And then I find out, once I get into pyramids, I find out that every hieroglyph, when you watch these specials and you see all those columns, now imagine that every one had gold in them. They all had gold. Where did all that gold come from? Okay, and by the way, even Western science will tell you that the Egyptians formed the gold standard, which held out until Nixon into the gold standard. But every country had the gold standard. They don't tell you that. They're like, oh, well, they built these buildings for these dead Negroes, and that's all. It's like, no, these people literally formed our world. And I'm sorry to tell everybody, but they knew it was going to run down. But they left this information for when it was going to come back up. And we're at that exact point where it's coming back up. We've gone as far down as we can in terms of the time cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So I can either be on the side of the people that are going to stick with, as they say, get back to normal, or I can be in contact with my universal self and say, get to what is right now. And normal meant You know, a whole bunch of people are being deprived. The earth was being raped and pillaged. That, you know, the wealth was being distributed to a very small subset of people. That's not what I want to get back to. And therefore, I have to do the work. I have to contact the universe. I have to tune in. I have to take all this science, you know, and do the work. Do the heavy lifting, as they say. But it's not heavy. It's not heavy. It's light because it's fun. And as long as people are convinced that these technologies and these forces are so powerful that they can't be overruled or stopped, then they're not paying attention to universal law. In other words, maybe I was sent here to overcome that crap. What about that? We paid $12 to go to see the X-Men, and they'd say the same thing. How come brothers can't be doing that? Oh, yeah, we've already done that. And sisters even more so. So let's build. Let's build. Oh, yeah, by the way, before I get off this phone, I just have to mention that most people think of me as a scientist and a metaphysician, but my actual life experience, what I spent the most time, is in using the pyramids to purify food. So I don't care how you slice it. If you're doing something that's just mundane, or if you're doing something that you want to do this metaphysical thing or contact the Arcturian, I don't care what the fuck you're doing. Energized, purified food will only add to that. Please tell me the downside to that. Because people are like, well, how do I know the pyramid, the material? What? Look, test it out for yourself. Now, I tested it out in terms of sending it off to the lab and getting the reports back and whatever. I'm not talking about that kind of testing. I'm just saying put your food underneath your pyramid for a month and see how you feel. You know, literally, how's your bowel movement? How's your digestion? How's your attitude? That's what I wanted to contribute to our movement. You know, that when we're eating more energized, I'm not going to say purified, more energized stuff, then we're going to be more receptive to what the universe is telling us. Now, see, once again, if I'm just saying this as a scientist, like most people are used to scientists coming on with the white smock and saying a bunch of crap and having no backup. No, I literally have done this all my life, have turned on thousands of people to this, and everybody has access to this at any moment. This is not something special. I made my first pyramids out of cardboard, you know, because there's this whole thing in our community about has to be these rare metals. Since when? I know people that made bamboo sticks. You know, look, this is for us to determine. If I heard somebody on the phone, or not the phone, but on the radio or whatever, and they said, I'm going to try it out. If it doesn't work, I'm going to tell my friends don't do that. But if it does work, I'm going to be like, damn, there's something I didn't know. And that's part of the scary part. That's part of the scariness, is that there are things that we have not been told. And they come from our culture. I guess what I'm saying is, you know, my attitude is that we're in a dire situation. And I don't think that other people think we're in a dire situation yet. They still keep, like, they go to the store and they get the Legos, and they're like, well, how can they put this chemical in there? Why are you buying that stuff when you're in that attitude? If you know that, if you want to have purified food, then you're going to have to you're either going to have to make your own, or you're going to hook up with somebody that loves to make their own and purchase it or barter from them. We have to change our attitude, is what I'm saying. People, I didn't grow up having pyramids in my house. And I was blessed with the fact that once I got into this, and then I made a pyramid for my mom, and she always put the food underneath, inside the pyramid for my dad and her. So I was blessed. What I mean when I say I was blessed that, she didn't think it was weird. My mom went to church every Sunday, so she didn't think it was against Jesus or the Bible. I was blessed in that way, because a lot of people are like, well, I wasn't raised with that, or I didn't learn it in school, or that's not in the Bible. And I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that's not in the Bible. Like your computer, your car, and everything else. Anyway, I'm babbling.
Well, let's slide into the Hudson Valley too, because I've done some things with that. And family, I'm gonna put up a picture of some of the things that's in the Hudson Valley. Do you want to slide into the Hudson Valley? Like that, and I put up. What I did was I put up what they call a duga, and then I'm put up the standing stone. They call it standing stone, right?
Yes.
For
The standing stone. Yeah.
Right. And then what I did in my house was I got them in the corners of my house. I got the quartz standing on some form of stilts or two pegs like that to try to duplicate the standing. Actually, to the point now that somebody called me and said, Brother Usiku, my mama's sick or my daddy's sick or my family, I write their name down and I'll stick it into that standing stone that I got in the four corners of my home. So would you explain some of the concept of that and that whole Hudson Valley thing? Was that at one time a place where aliens lived for a while?
Look, what you're basically talking about is reinforcing or amplifying the natural energy lines that flowed across the earth. So, therefore, the first thing I want to say in terms of this principle is that at the time of the Egyptians and further back in history, the earth was spinning at a faster rate than it is now. And therefore it had a greater magnetic field. And we know this because people could walk and they could feel the magnetic field. Like now we have to use these devices and things, but people could literally, I'm not talking about like extraordinary psychic people. I'm talking about like kids, anybody could walk along and, oh no, today the field is bigger, or, and we scientifically know it was at least 3 times stronger, 3 times. So that's 300% stronger than it is now. And at that time, they used the dolmens. Word sound familiar? They used the dolmens, and they used the standing stones, and the rollright stones. They had different names, but these things would not only amplify the energy the magnetic energy coming out of the earth, but it would connect it with the other stones. So you'd form fields. And these magnetic fields were used for growing stuff, for healing people, for reproduction, meaning having babies, And once again, no, when I hear people talk about Black Lives Matter, and then the other people talk about White Lives Matter, and my reaction to that is all life matters, meaning that as long as we're talking about black life, we mean black humans. When we say white life, white humans. Well, no, I'm sorry, but none of us would be alive if there wasn't all these multitudinous other types of life forms that live here. So we have to be more inclusive of how we look at the world. And that's what this time period should be used for. I said all this stuff, but we should be using, in addition to all the stuff that we're using to pop up and make our environment safe, we should be looking at how as you said, how have we been diverted? How has our attention been diverted from an endlessly abundant universe to this completely lacking and limited universe? That's an illusion. That's bullcrap. The universe has nothing to do like it. You can't look out in the Hubble telescope and find one example of that. You can't. So let's obey, let's honor and live in accordance with universal principles, and know that that's okay. And work on our houses, work on our environment, and I think one of the most important things I said, which I want to re-emphasize, we have to have a long-term program or business plan. We have to have long-term. We can't have like I'm going to save enough to get that bottle of rum for this weekend. That's okay for the party, but I'm talking about we have to have a 5-year party plan. Maybe I won't get that bottle of rum right now, but I'll buy one every 6 months, and 5 years from now, I'll have a party and I'll have enough rum, and everybody will get happy. We have to think long term, is what I'm saying. And we already know that part of the whole thing about Black life existence is that we don't see ourselves as living long term. So I don't understand. This is my aspect of not understanding. But people talk to me about all the spiritual stuff, and I'm like, what's more metaphysical or spiritual than seeing us as existing? We have to see ourselves as long term. And if that means that I have to analyze my house and do what my landlord didn't do, that's for me. That's what I need for me to do. Anyway, bro, I'm tired.
I understand. I understand.
No. Tired in the sense of I've given 100% of what I can, and people can always call me. I'll give up on the number 215-609-6586. And I'm not asking. People always call me asking all these metaphysical questions about the Arcturians, but if people want to call me and ask me what they can do about their house, I will give them. I will answer with all that stuff. That's why I'm here. So I just have to rest. But it was great.
I appreciate you.
But we have time, because once again, it's not about people making all this stuff in their house. It's about knowing cosmically, meteorologically, when certain things happen. And we've been convinced that our Western society or science, can override these things. We can't override these. That's an absurd idea. At the same time, we have enough science to understand there are waves or frequencies that are coming from each of these planets and affecting us. Astrology has some validation, and therefore we have to learn short cycles, medium cycles, and long cycles. And that right there is healthy because you're planning on saying, you know, I'm going to live a certain amount of time. And or if I'm not, somebody else will carry on from my vision. And I say that because the modern Western thing that was developed like 300 years ago, they determined, it was more than 300 years ago, they determined that they had to put a brick into place every 2.5 minutes. And they determined that because they had already made up their mind that it only took 20 years to build the pyramid. Now, you already know, brother, that I rant and rave about this because I'm like, how many years did it take before they had to design this thing before they even built it? They design it, find the stone, figure out how to move it. No, fuck you. That's way more than 20 years. However, my point in this particular juncture is the fact that their version, which meant that they had to put every brick into place every 2.5 minutes. You're talking about 5,000-pound bricks. The more reasonable analyzation said that it took over 100 years to build the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even if that's not true, I just find that fascinating in the sense that somebody is going to design a building that they are not going to see, they're not going to see the end of. Anyway, bro, this is my student. I got to go.
But yeah, I appreciate it. But why did they build it? Did they build it for a force shield?
No. Hold on.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. The most fascinating thing about the pyramids of Egypt is that they serve different functions at different times during the reign of the Egyptians. So everybody is correct. Like the people who say they used it for, burying their dead. They use it for, sending those pharaohs up to another realm of space. They use it for understanding the cosmos. Whatever theory you have, that's correct. They use it for all those. They use it for even determining property lines after the flood, because the pyramids cast a shadow, and therefore they already knew where the shadow went. They could tell where people's property lines were. So there's at least 12 different functions that the pyramid served. And as you said, you were asking about my book. Well, guess what? It's not just that I have to write a book. I have to have several different videos because I have to show this stuff. And the book can't show it. I need to show things moving across space at night and how they looked at it. But the pyramids were multitudinous, had multitudinous uses. And the bottom line of what I'm saying is it tells us that they were using way more of their brains and their consciousness than we are. So that's my answer to what you said. We have the opportunity to use more of our consciousness.
Right.
And I don't give a rat. I'm gonna say this to Brother 5,000 and everybody else. I don't give a rat's fucking ass about the QAnon, the aliens, erectile dysfunction. There's nothing you can throw across our plate. That's not gonna. No, we're doing this. Done. Oh yeah, and let me throw in Legos in there. I mean, not Legos, Egos.
Well, we appreciate you. I don't know if you deal with Thanksgiving or not, but it's a serious spiritual day at some point. So definitely enjoy at some point of being thankful.
I'm just saying that there's no kid. If the kid has not been abused, then they're not going to be worrying and toiling and like, oh my God, the white man and this and that. No kid does that. They'll be like, oh, there's racism. They're like, okay, so I'll paint everybody black. They'll come up with some, it may not be a practical answer, but they're not accepting that. And neither should we, because we're children of the Most High. One of the biggest lies we've ever been told is that we're grown up. No, we're adults. Adults and grown-ups are not the same thing. There's no tree that's grown up, is it? It keeps growing, doesn't it? Brother 5,000, come on, testify for me.
Well.
Oh, no. You made me laugh.
The comment I had was just where he asked about when you was telling me like he was right with the different reasons why the pyramids were built, and one of the ones that I know mainly was that it was a tuning fork for humans. So you heard of Tai Chine energy. It goes faster than the speed of light. So going around the pyramids, you talked about. Oh, go ahead.
No,
you the man.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just drooling right now. I'm just drooling. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well,
faster than the speed of light. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Muhammad and Allah. Yeah.
He is off the chain, but but the point I was getting at there was just like you have Orion's belt, and some people call them the three wise men, and they line up to the pyramids of Giza, the three great pyramids of Giza. So if you could picture the three wise men or those three great pyramids lining up to Orion's belt, and so it reals like it's both what I say aligning humans, because just like you talk about different times in a year where all the stars align, so do you. So that was a big thing for us, because a lot of us, like I said, we're out of our minds, so we need to be lined up.
Right.
So a lot of us are, that's where we need the downloads, or we need to be, because there's something missing. So somewhere down the line, I know I stir you up every time, but so it's just. But the reality is understanding those things, and that's why we seek it amongst our brethren, whether it's somebody else, your significant other, because you have somebody that you can reflect your energies on. So
listen. I literally had to pee, or I'm sorry, urinate. But what I want to say to you, I'm sorry. What did you just say? Repeat what you just said. I forgot already. What was the last thing you just said?
About reflecting energies on one another?
Okay. brother, that's it. The year 2020, before we got into the year 2020, Spirit spoke to me, through me, and said to my friends what 2020 was going to be about. It didn't say plague or whatever, but it gave us our instructions. But about 4 months in, people were like, well, yeah, but you said so and whatever. And Spirit said, 2020 exhibits the principle of the echo. If you want to understand 2020, you must understand the echo. So what I'm saying to you, as regard to what you're saying, is look at what we throw out and what comes back. And if we don't like what comes back, then we have to keep throwing stuff out until the right answer comes. So we evoke it. Do you follow what I'm saying? That the answer comes from us going out and coming back. So I just want to say that that's what I'm vibrating to you in terms of what I'm supposed to say right now. That in addition to all this other metaphysical stuff, the most important metaphysical thing is, what am I putting out? Because if I need to put out something different, then I need to adjust that. If I need to put out something, if I'm doing the right thing, then I need to amplify that even more. But it's what am I putting out? And then making my vessel receptive for receiving back the answer. Because people think, oh, well, I'm doing this business plan, and therefore it's going to come back the way I think. I'm like, monkey brain, we got COVID. We got a madman. We can't depend on just regular stuff. We got to deal with what we're dealing with. And so all I'm saying is we have to be flexible, adjustable, mutable. And we also have to realize that democracy requires constant attention. The idea of voting for somebody and then waiting for 4 years. No, democracy, you vote for somebody, and then the day after you start writing letters, you start petitioning, you start building. And that's the same thing with Egyptians. The Egyptians were constantly figuring out how to design stuff and how to build it. And what the funk are we doing? Not that. So before anybody gets telling me all these other answers like politics and this, I'm like, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat. Are we not building? And then they give us all kinds of examples, such as, all the stuff that we built, African-American, we weren't Americans then, Africans built in this country. We built all that stuff. And a great deal of time, we designed it too. So this is not new. This is not some metaphysical back in the day thing. We just have to acknowledge what the other people weren't willing to acknowledge. And put the value on it. Oh, I'm sorry. I left that part out. Put the value, mother suck, on it. everybody's like, oh yeah, well he's just, he's an okay rapper, but he's not good as, Ray Ray down the street. No. He's worth $500,000. Ray Ray's worth $5 million. We gotta put the value on it. Not the charts. Not society or who buys whatever. We have to do that. And once again, I'm getting on this phone, but I was just trying to illustrate to people that if you could put, like, for example, I've got these muffins. I love corn muffins. It's just something that, when I'm working, I get my coffee in the morning, and I know a lot of people don't like coffee, but it's funky out. I like coffee, and I have my corn muffin, so I went to the store, and I bought the 6-pack of the corn muffin. And then I was so excited to have them, and then I got them home, and then I looked at them, and they were pineapple corn muffins. Like, I'm like, I want corn muffins. I want exotic New Age style. I want corn muffins. Okay, so I left it inside this giant 2-foot pyramid that Albert, the gentleman that lets me live here, I left it inside his pyramid. And I said, well, somebody in his house will probably want these things. I was just hoping. Okay, it's been 2 years now. I'm looking at the corn muffins, and they have not spoiled. There's no mold on them. They're still squeezy. Now, when people ask me, well, do you expect me to believe that this stuff works? I'm like, I'm not expecting you to believe. Belief is not the issue, dude. I'm saying this stuff. In other words, when I'm saying, look, I do not like to promote what I do because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to sell something. Because they can make their own pyramid. I made my first pyramid out of cardboard. I'm just saying that if there's something else that does stuff, whatever it does, then we know that these Western people are not giving us the whole thing. And then we can be liberated and say, well, let's investigate everything. But right now, people still arguing with me and saying, how do you know this? I'm like, well, the white man proved this 80 years ago. I had nothing to do with this.
Well, that's the more, you can't, the reality of it is because it's coming from you and not somebody that they trust. So they don't trust you. So that's what it come down. That's what it come down to. And it's not we have to realize I'm not here for you like that because I don't got nothing to prove to you. I don't have to prove a damn thing for you. At the end of the day.
But brother, the point I'm making is even that doesn't in any way stop me.
Right.
But I've never been. I didn't get into that for that reason, and therefore I'm not paying attention to that. What to the opposite, because universe is always going to give you the opposite thing too, right? The opposite of that is in the 80s they had these shows on TV, on regular TV. The main. The 4 main networks. And one of these TV shows actually had my pyramids on it. And it was because somebody I knew was dating somebody from Hollywood, and so they got the pyramid. And they didn't refer to it in terms of what I do, but it was on the show. And it's a comedy show. And I saw a bunch of pyramids after that, not because it worked, but because they saw it in a format that they trusted. Exactly to your point. Howsoever, what I'm saying now, which is unfamiliar, will be the mainstream not that long from now. So, therefore, because as we get further into this, resources and whatever will be limited. So therefore, you're not going to be able to grow as much stuff, but it's going to have more protein and more nutrients. And that's where the pyramid comes in. So, so that's the next class. I'm just saying that as soon as people investigate and find out that there are answers or there are alternatives to what we think, then they'll do their thing. And look, I started 44 years ago, so I did not do any of the stuff expecting any kind of recognition. I was doing this for anybody other than my understanding of myself. And now I'm happy to share that with people. So that's where I come from. That's where I come from. And unfortunately for me, I just have an allergy to computers. So I had to have people to help me. So it can take me a moment longer to get these, as you said, my book, which is going to be more visual than a book. But we're going to do this thing, and like I said, if people can actually get something that will prove to them that, this stuff works, and I haven't figured out how that, what that message is yet. But, whoever figures it out, then it's over. It's done. I will also tell you that, ironically, you have more people in Russia using pyramid energy legitimately, meaning accepted by science, than anything over here. And it's perfect because, obviously, if these people are doing all this stuff, then America can immediately say, well, no, it's not real because it's Russia. And I said that because, unlike myself, who built pyramids over my gardens over these several decades I've been doing this, the Russians didn't do that. The Russians built 150-foot pyramid. I'm going to repeat that. They built a 150-foot pyramid, and that was able to energize the gardening or the farming area for 5 miles in every direction from that pyramid. Okay, I'm going to repeat what I just said. The Russians built a 150-foot pyramid, and that affected the gardening and the plant growth for 5 miles in every direction. That's a 150-foot pyramid. The pyramid in Egypt is 450 feet. Mm-hmm. So that would mean that would be affecting whatever is growing for 20 miles in each direction. And the fact that they had pyramids throughout their whole country meant that everything was being energized. Every vegetable, every fruit, every mushroom. So, just imagine if we all ate healthy food.
Well, we're gonna get there.
Oh yeah, no. We're going to get there. I'm just saying that people are like, well, we're doomed race or whatever. I'm like, who says? Who says we're doomed? We're going to do this thing. Anyway, like I said, I got to go.
Okay, we
Great
appreciate
job.
you. Hey, and thank.
You
Let's look at
and
before December 21st. Maybe
no.
we can.
I want to say.
Hmm?
I want to say that I want to get this video thing together so I can show you what I'm talking about. So it will no longer be debate. And and I'm going to send you. I'm talking to you. I'm going to send
Yes.
you a sample of what I'm talking about. I'm just waiting for my. I'm just waiting to tell some things like you. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm
Anyway,
looking forward to it too. Yeah, definitely.
yeah. And Brother 5000, brother, you just keep beaming and glowing and being as brilliant as you are.
We
You
appreciate
know.
you, man. Thank you. You do the
Yes.
same.
And brother Lester, give your number again in case somebody want to contact you, and also you, brother 5000, if you'd like to give your number before we close. And
Okay.
family, I took notes, so if you got any answers, I took notes on some of the things he said. Put in your home, and so y'all can give me. Most of y'all know me, so we can give me a call and we
Yeah.
can go over things he said. Put in your
I
home.
will.
Okay.
I will walk people through every step of everything that they need to do. No problem. But my number is 215-609-6586.
Well, thank you,
And I
family.
welcome.
That's
Yes, Ringtone Network, get your funk on.
We'll be back around the 18th or the 19th of December, family, before we go into the December 21st. Brother, that's love you. Yeah, that's love you. We appreciate you. I love you. Thank you. I probably call for a follow-up this weekend or something like
Of
that.
course,
Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family.
of course, and for all of the older listeners, I'm just going to end by saying Kirk out.
Kirk out. You know, but you ain't checking out Discovery. I mean, off the board, you're not checking out Discovery, Brother Lester? Or did he go? Maybe I lost him. He's out. Anyway, to you, brother, 5000, I appreciate you and I appreciate the family that came. It was designed for y'all to ask questions, but it's all good. I hope y'all got something out of it. And again, call Lester. You can give me a call. I took some notes on like getting your house ready as before we go into December 21st, which is supposed to be a big day. I'm brother Usiku L, formerly of the Ring and Stone Network. Y'all have a very peaceful night. Peace.
5,000.